Mystical creatures. Throughout the ages, mankind has always told stories of interactions with non-human life forms. What are the odds of different cultures that never met having seen entities that match similar descriptions or details? Today we will look at a few. 1. Creatures with backwards feet. The Chirail. The Chirail is a mythical or legendary creature resembling a woman, which may be a demoniacal revenant. Said to occur in South Asia and Southeast Asia, particularly popular in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Pakistan. The Chirail is typically described as the ghost of an unpurified living thing, but because she is often said to latch onto trees, she is also called a tree spirit. The Chirail is mostly described as extremely ugly and hideous, but is able to shapeshift and disguise herself as a beautiful woman to lure men into the woods or mountains, where she either kills them or sucks up their life force or virility, turning them into old men. Their feet are believed to be turned the other way around, so the toes face the direction of their back. Chirails are most often reported in and around graveyards, cemeteries, tombs, abandoned battlefields, thresholds of houses, crossroads, toilets, and squalid places. The Curupira. The Curupira is a mythological creature present in Tupi-Guarani myths, such as those found in Paraguay, the Amazonia of Brazil, and the northeast of Argentina. The name comes from the Tupi language, Curupir, meaning covered in blisters. According to cultural legends, this creature has bright red-orange hair and resembles a man or a dwarf, but its feet are turned backwards. Curupira live in the forest, and uses its backwards feet to create footprints that lead to its starting point, thus making hunters and travelers confused. Besides that, it can also create illusions and produce a sound that is like a high-pitched whistle in order to scare and drive its victim to madness. It is common to portray a Curupira riding a collared peccary. A Curupira will prey on poachers and hunters that take more than they need of the forest, and also attack people who hunt animals that were taking care of their offspring. There are many different versions of the legend, and so the creature's appearance and habits may vary from each region in Brazil. Ciguapa. A ciguapa is a mythological creature of Dominican folklore. They are commonly described as having human female form with brown or dark blue skin, backward-facing feet, and very long manes of smooth, glossy hair that cover their bodies. They supposedly inhabit high mountains of the Dominican Republic. These creatures have nocturnal habits. Also, due to the position of their feet, one can never tell which direction the beings are moving by looking at their footprints, and some people believe that they bring death. And it is said that one should not look them in the eye, otherwise the person is at risk of being bewitched permanently. The only vocalization made by ciguapas is said to be a kind of whine or chirping. Ciguapas are considered to be magical beings, beautiful in appearance to some yet horrendous to others. All sources agree that they are wild creatures, deceitful and ready to capture the wayward traveler. It is said that they are so beautiful that they can lure men into the forest to make love with them, only to kill them afterward. Aberimon, or Nuli in Greek or Roman mythology, are people whose feet are turned backwards, but in spite of this handicap were able to run at great speed. In Europe, this tribe was first described by Pliny the Elder, a Roman author and nationalist, in his book Natural History, who considered them to be native to India. They lived side by side with wild animals, and attempts to capture them failed because they were so savage. Pliny refers to information that originates from Beitan, which was Alexander the Great's land surveyor. Beitan says that the Aberimons could only breathe the air in their own domestic valleys, because of the special quality of air, which meant if it was breathed for a long period of time, it would be impossible to breathe any other type of air. Therefore, the inhabitants were unable to leave the valley and live anywhere else, and so it was impossible to capture them. 2. Creatures with headless torsos. In the Indian subcontinent, there are myths of Kabanda, or a headless torso. This is considered to be a Rakshasa, or demon, who was killed and freed from a curse by the god Rama, in Avatar Vishnu. The Mahabharata describes Kabanda as big as a mountain, dark as a black cloud, with pointed hairs all over its body, and looking fierce with the voice as loud as thunder. It is said to have an eye on its stomach, round and yellow, emitting a glare like a fire flame. Looking wicked, it thrusts its big tongue out of its huge mouth, licking the sides. Blemis. Blemis, acephaloi, or headless ones, were described in ancient Greek and Roman cultures as beings inhabiting remote parts of the world. Described as lacking a head with their facial features on their chest, these were first described as inhabitants of ancient Libya or the Nile system, and later traditions confined their habitat to a particular island or shifted it to India. Blemmies are said to occur in two types, with eyes on the chest or with eyes on the shoulders. And Pliny the Elder, in the Natural History, reports the Blemme tribe of North Africa as having no heads, their mouth and eyes being seated in their breasts. And Pliny situates the Blemmies somewhere in Ethiopia. Xing Tian is a Chinese deity who fights against the supreme divinity, not giving up even after the event of his decapitation. Losing the fight for supremacy, he was beheaded, and his head buried in Chang'an Mountain. Nevertheless, headless, with a shield in one hand and a battle axe in the other, he continues the fight using his nipples as eyes and his belly button as a mouth. Donatsura. Donatsura is a Japanese yokai or spirit whose body appears much like that of a human's, except that it is missing everything from the neck up. Its extremely large facial features are prominently displayed on its torso. Haradashi. The Donatsura is similar to the Japanese Haradashi, which is a goofy-looking yokai that can change into various different forms. Occasionally, a Haradashi will appear as a headless torso, with arms, legs, and comical facial features on its belly. 3. Large ape or wild man-like beings. Bigfoot. Bigfoot, also commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is an ape-like creature said to inhabit the forests of North America. While mainstream scientists dismiss the existence of Bigfoot, many articles have been offered to prove Bigfoot's existence, including anecdotal claims of sightings and alleged video and audio recordings, photographs, and casts of large footprints. Tales of wild, hairy humanoids exist throughout the world, and sightings and interactions with such creatures appear in various stories of indigenous peoples throughout North America for centuries. Almas. An almas, or almasti, is a creature said to inhabit the Caucasus, Tian Shan, and Pamir Mountains of Central Asia, and the Altai Mountains of Western Mongolia. Almas is often described as having a flat face, like that of a human being, and that it often walks on two legs, that its body is covered with a thick black fur, and its feet armed with enormous claws, that its strength was terrible, and that not only are hunters afraid of attacking it, but that inhabitants of these areas remove their habitations from those parts of the country which it visits. Yeren. The Yeren or wild man is an ape man reported to inhabit remote mountainous regions of China, most famously in the Hubei province. Sightings of hairy men have remained constant since the Warring States period circa 340 BCE through the Tang dynasty, or 618 to 907 CE. Generally, they are described as savage, strong, and fast-moving, living in mountain caves and descending only to raid villages for food or to abduct human captives to mate with. Testimonies of the alleged creature typically agree the Yeren walks upright and stands over 2 meters, or 6 feet tall, is covered in tawny hair all over the body, especially long at the scalp, and has a face reminiscent of both an ape and a human. Other common descriptors include black red hair, distended eyes, long arms hanging all the way down to the knees, and big feet. The Yeren supposedly laughs when coming across a human. Barmanu. The Barmanu is allegedly a bipedal humanoid primate cryptid that inhabits the mountainous region of northern Pakistan. Shepherds living in the mountains have reported sightings. The proposed range of the Barmanu covers the Chitral and Karakoram ranges between the Pamirs and the Himalaya. This places the Barmanu between the ranges of two more famous cryptids, the Almas of Central Asia and the Yeti of the Himalayas. The Barmanu allegedly possesses both human and ape-like characteristics and has a reputation for abducting women and attempting to mate with them. It is also reported to wear animal skins upon its back and head. The Barmanu appears in the folklore of the northern regions of Pakistan, and depending on where the stories come from, it tends to be either described as an ape or a wild man. Yeti. Yeti is an ape-like creature purported to inhabit the Himalayas mountain range in Asia. In Western popular culture, the creature is commonly referred to as the abominable snowman. Many dubious articles have been offered in an attempt to prove the existence of the Yeti, including anecdotal visual sightings, disputed video recordings, photographs, and plaster casts of large footprints. The Yeti is often described as being a large bipedal ape-like creature that is covered with brown, gray, or white hair, and it is sometimes depicted as having large, sharp teeth. Yeti was a part of the pre-Buddhist beliefs of several Himalayan people. Followers of the Bon religion once believed the blood of the wild man had use in certain spiritual ceremonies. That being was depicted as an ape-like creature who carries a large stone as a weapon and makes a whistling swoosh sound. I hope you enjoyed today's video.